You cannot succeed on your own in business.
Sometimes it's the most simple things that have the biggest impact.
With the future of AI, the competitive advantage of companies will be the human touch.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Revenue Rascals. And I'm excited today to have a fellow Italian on the show. And I even got his name right the first time I tried to pronounce. So everyone, please welcome Bruno Cignacco. You guys, today we're going to talk about some really exciting things that are not just about sales and revenue and money, but we're going to go and have an episode around prosperity mindset with my new friend, Bruno, and how it can impact business success, joy, building culture, and revenue. So with that said, welcome, Bruno.
Thank you very much for your invite. I feel very honored to be here, Michelle. Thank you.
Well, this is going to be a great episode. So before we get into the meat of it all, could you please introduce yourself to my audience and talk a little bit about how you've gotten to where you are today and what you're doing?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm a consultant, international consultant for more than 30 years. I'm specialized in international marketing. I'm also a researcher, a university professor for the same time, around 30 years, and also author of different business books. And also I'm researching always on interesting business topic, for example, prosperity mindset.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so Bruno, talk to us about prosperity mindset. Like, what do we need to do? Set the stage.
Very interesting. In my latest book, I mentioned the two types of mindset, scarcity mindset and prosperity mindset. Prosperity mindset has very specific characteristics that are, for example, a business person with prosperity mindset is always looking for win-win agreements. This means that they don't try to win at the expense of others. Instead, the scarcity mindset try to look for zero-sum games, means I win, you lose. Why is so important? Because people with the prosperity mindset tend to develop partnership with customers, long-term relationship with customers, partnership with suppliers, partnership with other business organizations, but also in some cases they build strong bonds with the community members, with other, for example, stakeholders. And why this is so important? Because from the viewpoint of a prosperity mindset, a person with a prosperity mindset, business person with a prosperity mindset, try always to add more value to different stakeholders. They are not thinking too much on getting, obtaining. A person that has a scarcity mindset try always to get, to obtain more profits, more sales, more market share. However, counterintuitively, the person with prosperity mindset know that by adding value, by giving, by adding value to customers, adding value to employees, adding value to suppliers and community members, counterintuitively, they are more prone to receive more from these stakeholders than only focusing on getting. So this means that a person with a prosperity mindset is generous by nature. This means that they try to add value on a regular basis. For example, if they're addressing customer needs, they're trying always to improve the product that they're offering to this customer. They're not complacent. They're always trying to try a better design, better performance, better functionality. Why? Because they know that by adding value, by giving more value to these customers are more prone to become loyal. They're more prone to recommend their product to other customers, other potential customers. And when people have a prosperity mindset that they are generous, this means that they give more than other people expect. They create a positive cycle of generosity. This means, let's give an example of a customer. You are selling computers in your computer shop, and instead of selling only this computer, you give a coding course free to this customer. You have a prosperity mindset. You're not taking only into account the cost and all the figures, but you're giving something else that was not expected. This customer will feel positively surprised, and they're more prone to recommend your product to other customers. Leave positive reviews online. And this creates a win-win relationship. I'm giving more than they expect, customer wins, but also you are winning because in return, this customer will recommend probably 3-4 more customers for your company. So this means that generosity begets generosity, but also a person with a prosperity mindset is appreciative, thankful, is grateful. So this means that they are grateful with every single stakeholders. For example, in the case of employees, a manager with a prosperity mindset will appreciate on a regular basis the employee contribution. They will appreciate when employees work the extra hours and they are giving their time to this company. And in some cases, they appreciate in a very tangible way, providing this employee with bonuses, providing this employee with recognition in a public event. But this person with prosperity mindset is also grateful with customer, not only when they buy a product for our company, that they can send, for example, a thank you note by email, but also when they didn't buy a product, but they spend their time looking into the company's product. And when a person is appreciative with others, a business person is appreciative with others, they're prone to generate a positive cycle of appreciation, of thankfulness, of gratitude. Again, we see that people with a prosperity mindset do not focus only on what I call in business the quantitative aspects. What are the quantitative aspects? Profit, market share, sales. These are very important parameters for a person with a prosperity mindset, but a person with a prosperity mindset also focus on what I call the qualitative aspect. What are the qualitative aspects? Appreciation, generosity, gratitude, kindness, compassion. Why? Because they know that the most important resource in business is not artificial intelligence, it's not information, it's not technology, but it's the human being. When they care for customers, when they care for employees, they care for suppliers, they care for any other stakeholders, they generate strong bonds. And all these stakeholders, customer, employees, suppliers, they are on the company's side. And they're more prone to support this company in achieving more sales, more market share, more profits. This means that a person with prosperity mindset prioritizes building relationship, strong relationship with the stakeholder first, because this is the basis to obtain limitless profit, limitless sales, limitless market share. They don't focus first on quantitative aspect, the key performance indicator. They focus on the relationship that will bring about these key performance indicators.
Yes, I think I love that. And I would like to think that I have always been on that giving side. It was something that I learned pretty early on in life. A couple of things I want to bring up. The first one is the law of giving and receiving, which I think is really powerful. And then also something that I always say to my children, to my friends, to my family, I was like, never give to get. If you only give to get, it doesn't work. So you give wholeheartedly, you give what you can, which can be appreciation, recognition. And it also, like you said, it absolutely drives loyalty of your employee base. And I think that's really important. I'm curious with the age of AI right now and so much disconnection from the human state and from human relationships where we just have bots doing a whole bunch of things. One thing that I have noticed is that if you lean into the human side right now, and you can even see it in advertisements on TV. The other day, I'm in the US, so I know you're not, you might not have the same commercials, but in the commercials over here, it was a local bank that was showing you how like other bankers are dealing with things basically like AI driven, automation only. We're going to get this fast. And then it turns to, but is that what you really want? To never talk to your banker again, to never have anybody to lean on? And then it's a very dramatic double door entry. And this person comes in and it's like how we use AI is so that behind the scenes, our operations are faster, but we've chosen not to eliminate the human relationship. And that will never go away. And I think this is a perfect application of what you're talking about right now.
I completely agree. And you have a nice case in United States that is, I mentioned in my book, that is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is a grocery chain that counterintuitively go counter the supermarket and grocery trend. If you see in any country, including here in the UK, most of the grocery shops, they have checkout deals. This means the self-checkout deals. This means that you don't rely on anyone, and no employee will be there. There might be one employee to help you if you have some problems. Instead, trader shows, this grocery shop go completely counterintuitively and counter against the trend. Why? Because they employ more people to help customers, not only at the tills, but also if they're looking for a product, they cannot find the product, you will always find these stores, people that are very kind, and these are the employees, the trader shows employees that will be very willing to help you, for example, with recommending some recipes, giving you some advice on the new product coming out, the own brand product that the company has also too. So this means that they are very person-oriented. And this is quite important because with the future of AI, you will see that the competitive advantage of companies will be the human touch from the broader perspective. And companies that will be successful will be the one that have a very nice equilibrium, a very nice balance between high tech and high touch, high human touch. This means that you won't rely only on a bot. You won't rely only on a specific script that is generated by AI. You will have, for example, a person on the phone that can answer your request, or, for example, video conferencing with a real person, not with the AI image, where you can talk and comment about your fears, your worries, and so on. Because at the end, human needs won't disappear with AI. Will be probably more intense because people will say, I want to connect to a real person. So this will be the differentiator of any company that is selling product or services. The personalization, not only the presence of human being, but the personalization. You are not the same customer as this second customer. I will try to give you a tailor-made advice. It's important for you, might not be relevant for the next customer. They will try companies to avoid any standardization, using the same approach for every customer, but try to be as personalized as possible.
Yes. I mean, I personally love Trader Joe's. Not only do you go there and save money, but you have a wonderful experience when you're there.
This is important.
Yeah. And it makes you want to go back. It makes you love items. Like they hide a turtle in their stores. I don't know if you know this or not, but they hide this turtle. And if the kids find the turtle, they get a prize at checkout. So the person at checkout's always like, did you find the turtle? And like they still do it to my kids. And my kids are older. And I just think it's so sweet. And it makes you want to come back. It makes you leave with a smile. It's not convenient for me to get to a Trader Joe's where I am. It's like 30 minutes out of my way. I never go that direction because I live up in the mountains. So for me to go, I have to really like the experience. And, like Costco is fine too. Like that's another big one here, but you don't get that same experience at Costco. And I'm really not that motivated. I'm like, why? I'm not going to go, I'm going to save $40 by going an hour out of my way. Like, I think I have better things to do with my life. But Trader Joe's, I will always go back and you remember the items. So Bruno, I'm curious, what are some things that you're seeing in business right now where people are deciding to pull back on tech and push forward on human?
Well, there is a switch that they observe in many companies. The most important switch is quite simple, but quite relevant. The switch is from a selling attitude to a serving attitude or service attitude. It's quite similar, sounds similar, but selling attitude is I try to increase sale and I try to sell you whatever I want to get higher commission, higher sales. I don't care so much about you. I care about my own objective that is growing my sales. This attitude, some companies still have this attitude, is completely outdated. In the current era, volatile business environment, ever-changing business environment, big shifts. Instead, what I observe here in Europe, but in other continents, is that a company that differentiate, they're successful, and they have a very good brand image. They try to adopt an attitude of service. I'm here to add value, to improve your life to different extents. I'm here to help you. You come first. This means a full customer orientation. And I know that if you come first, then I come second, and we both benefit from this transaction, from this relationship. If I put myself first, I put yourself second, and you might not like it as a customer, and you're more prone to go to companies that treat you in the right way. It means that you are the priority. This is a very important shift because it's connected to the topic that we mentioned before, the prosperity mindset, the importance of generosity. When you put customer first, this means that you will try to exceed customer needs, because any company can satisfy customer needs. This is basic. If you are not, why you are in business. But exceeding customer needs means going beyond what is expected. And again, the aspect of surprise. I try to be generous and surprise them so much that they feel compelled to come back. They feel indebted with me as a company. Why? Because I create a positive imbalance. I gave them more than they expect, without any condition, without string attached. But I give them a lot because I want to improve their lives, and should be authentic, because customer can feel when this is fake. And I try to improve their life, give the best product, the best design, the best service, the best customer service. And customer, when they feel overwhelmed with all this extreme satisfaction, they cannot do but leave positive reviews and recommend, become over ambassador for your brand and recommend your products. Yes.
I think that this is a really good conversation. I think it's routinely applied in hospitality, but not expanded beyond hospitality. I've had quite a few clients in the hospitality space, and a huge part of the reward systems of their employees is what they would call surprise and delight, which means it's actually required for them. They have a certain amount of money that they're allowed to spend each month, and it's to surprise and delight their customers, which I think is super amazing and exciting. However, outside of hospitality, that's actually not a common practice. So I feel like the lesson here is, how can you take the concept of that from the hospitality industry and apply it to the everyday business? And I can give you an example of also of the selling versus serving, because I talk about that a lot on the show. So that was like perfect for you to bring in. And if you always put yourself first in a selling situation, it reeks of desperation. It reeks of being a used car salesman. Like, people are not excited to move forward in the motion. And it is so important that you lead with them first. And that even comes down to your follow-up. So instead of saying, hey, you said you wanted to close next Tuesday, why aren't we doing this? That's not how you say it. You're like, hey, based on your priorities for X launch date, if we don't start by next Tuesday, we'll be holding you up. Are you still interested in moving forward with the service? Way different approach, because you're going customer first. And you can still be the best darn seller in the world. You can close like a champ, but you have to make that tweak. And so applying both surprise and delight and customer first would be my first two things I would think of during this conversation.
Totally agree. And also, customers, when they're feeling treated in a respectful way, and you give them you treat them as a priority, customer, not only they are prone to recommend your company's product to other customers, but also they are prone to become loyal. Why? Because it's not only about the product, it's about the relationship that you build with them. That has positive emotions. The customer want to, because what is customer satisfaction? I'm a marketer, and there are different definitions of customer satisfaction, but satisfaction is experiencing positive emotion, not only when you buy the product, before you buy the product, during the buying process, and post-purchase. So this means that customer, when they feel positive emotion, they associate this positive emotion mentally to your company's brand, to your product, to your service. And so this is quite relevant. But also, it's relevant to understand that customers have multiple options. And in some cases, the product have very little differentiation from the concrete perspective with each other. The personalization of the bond will be the big differentiator. When you treat customer in a way that they feel, oh, this customer service is excellent. I haven't seen something like this before. They took into account every single detail. For example, I know some restaurants here that they find out when people visit them, they find out they have the database, and they find out when the birthday of one of the people going to the restaurant is, and they prepare a cake as a surprise with the name and the candles. Well, when they take into account every single detail and you say, oh, you know what, they took the time to do this. This means that they're not thinking only about cost. They're not thinking only about sales. They're thinking about me. Customers feel that they have been treated in a personalized way, not like a figure in the database or a contribution to their sale. A real human being. Well, this customer is very grateful, and they're very grateful in different ways. Coming back to your company, becoming a repeat customer, and recommending overtly, without you paying them, and in a very credible way, more credible than advertising, to other customers. And this has no price. So this means that generosity with customers bring about a lot of unforeseen dividends. If you do in a very authentic way, especially if you do in a very clear, transparent way, and without, I have a chapter in the book that also is very important, is without any manipulation. You want the best for the customer and for your company. You look for a win-win. You don't take advantage of customer, and you connect your technical knowledge about your product, your services, the experience about your company with the specific knowledge about the customer, their own knowledge about their needs, their preferences, and you try to meet and exceed these needs.
Yes, absolutely. Now, your second edition book that's coming out is called The Art of Compassionate Business. And I'm curious, how did you come about with the title, the concept? Like, what happened in your business world life as a trainer and a consultant that was like, this is it, it needs to hit, this needs to get out to the world?
Very important, because I have been acting as a consultant in international marketing for decades. And what I observed, that most of the advisory and consultancy services on this type of organization, especially international organization, was more focused on strategy, on tactics, on, for example, how to position the product or service. These aspects are very important. I still feel that they're very valuable for any company, regardless of the sector, regardless of the size, if they have international orientation or not. But then I read some article, I read some books a while ago that were focusing more on building relationship with different stakeholders. And I thought, oh, this is quite relevant. Most of the business books talk about the traditional aspect, profit, cost, market share, but I haven't seen anything related to building strong bonds with the stakeholder, and some words such as generosity, gratitude, and this came up with the idea of, okay, I would like to, I wrote before some traditional business book about international market, but I said, I would like to write a book that is not on strategies, not on tactics, but on how to abide by what I call human-oriented principles or human-centered principles that are timeless. This means that are valid today and 20 years later or 20 years ago, and can help companies put all the stakeholders on their side, on their own side. And this means that and create a positive network of win-win agreements with different stakeholders. And also take into account a very important concept in business, that is the concept of interdependence. This concept is so important, and many business leaders forget about this concept. You cannot succeed on your own in business. You need customers, suppliers, employees, community members, business partners. You cannot force them to be on your side. However, when you satisfy their needs in a fulfilling way, when you are generous, when you are kind to them, when you are grateful, supportive, they're more prone to reciprocate with your company. They try to be generous with your company, kind with your company, they contribute to your company, they recommend your company. So this means that by being kind, supportive, generous, grateful, you are generating a positive cycle that will come back to you. So, and this is the whole idea of the book. I mentioned many examples of companies from different sectors, different countries, but the common factor is the human being is the most important resource because it's a resource that generates other resources. Sales don't come out of the sky. They come from people buying from your company. The work doesn't get done on its own. You have employees contributing in some cases in a very hard way to achieve the objective. When you treat all these human beings in a kind way, these human beings are more prone, for example, in the case of employee, to generate more innovative products, better services, a better business model or more creative business model, different way to interact with customers. Why? Because the human being is a meta resource. It's a resource that helps companies generate other resources. So, and this was the whole idea of the book, that focusing on the most important factor is the most important asset in any company, from any sector, from any country, and any size, is the human being. And this will be today and 20 years later, even when we have the peak of artificial intelligence, the human being will be always the one generating new resources. And all this technology was generated by the human being. So we don't have to forget this. Could be more advanced than we think, but at the end, the human being also will be continually generating new resources. So we have to care for the most important thing, the priority that is a human being.
All right, friends, it's time to dig in to go high level. This is the deal. You should know this by now. I absolutely never let a sponsor come on here that I do not 100% believe in. And most of the time, they're products that I use and I'm really happy with. So Go High Level is my personal CRM and operating system and everything that we've been talking about today. So everything that I just described, the missed call text back, the voice AI overflow intake, the automated follow-up, all of this is built inside Go High Level. Here is what I want to tell you if you've been thinking about setting stuff up like this, but haven't decided on the product, because I'm going to give you the easy way right now. So first of all, I am all about price transparency, and plans start at just $97 a month for unlimited users. I don't know another product like this that covers automations, landing pages, voice AI, and allows you to have unlimited full access users. Most of the other platforms that I use, that my clients use, it's $1,000 every single time that you want to add a user. This is so powerful and completely limitless for you. Every single user, like I said, will have full access to the platform. No per seat pricing, no tiered permissions, no paying more because your team grew, which is so frustrating. One flat rate and everyone is in. See, the deal is Go High Level runs a free live boot camp every weekday to get you set up fast. 1 hour on Zoom, a Go High Level coach walks you through the setup, click by click, live with you in the room, doing it alongside, not a recording, not a webinar, or someone just talks at you for an hour and leaves you with a PDF. You leave with actual automations if you want, running inside your account. They'll cover all of the things that you need to get initially set up, like your domain, phone numbers, simple automations, and heck, this will send you off to the races with call text back, reputation and review management, social media integrations, Google Business Chat, and more, all inside just the 60 minutes and completely free for you. You also get a 30-day trial to make sure that it's the right fit for you and to set up everything else that you would like. One of my favorite things is I no longer have to give my username and passwords to my social media team. Everything is built inside Go High Level, and with one button, it publishes to all of my platforms. so powerful and streamlined. There's even an approval process. So, nothing's getting posted without my permission and without me seeing it. If the story you just heard today and my testimony about how Go High Level helps me, well, register for the free bootcamp and the free 30-day trial with the link I've provided in the show notes. And I can't wait to hear about how Go High Level changes and transforms your business. And as a reminder, if you get set up and you have a question and you want to know how to put this into sales motions, come and show up. Show up at my free coaching calls that I run once a month. Once again, go to revenuerascals.com/listen. So what would a recent story of a company that you were helping, that you assisted them in making some of these changes? Could you share a success story of something that's happened recently?
Yes. Well, what we observe in companies, especially, I give you an example about sales. What we observe that the sales team, when we visited the company, was a bit frightened because what we observe in companies that the common factor in companies that are not going so well is fear. They have different type of fear. In this case, the sales team have fear of not meeting the quota, or fear of the exceeding the time that for example, they have a limited time to interact with customer, and they were too constrained. They couldn't be natural. They couldn't connect to customer. Customer felt this. Customer felt that the conversation was unauthentic. This sales team was using scripts that didn't feel natural. They were using the same script with every customer, and different customers need different approaches, much more natural conversation. What we did was very simple. We did something that was kind of revolutionary for the company, and the managers were not very convinced, but they went ahead with this, and we said, you know what? The script, we eliminate the script because, I heard the sales people using the script, they say they look like robots. They look like robots. They don't make any sense what they're saying.
What industry are we in right now, Bruno?
Well, we're talking about textile, but was terrible. And this was B2B, could be used some script, but this was everything scripted. And then they have also a maximum time that they have to talk to. We're talking about big purchases. Maximum time that they have to talk to every buyer, industrial buyer, and say, "Listen, you are building relationship. You are limiting the time. I heard that they want to ask you a question. You cut them short." So.
Yeah, it seems kind of obvious to us that that's not a good idea.
But they told me, people told me, we have to meet the quota. Listen, but you are far from meeting the quota because the people that can help you meet the quota are the buyers that you're not paying attention to them. And so there was a bit of argument there because they were not, but said, no, but this was how we did always this business as usual. Well, okay, it's not going so well. We saw the key performance, the indicator were going down like crazy. I said, you know what? We have to try something different. Let's try for 3 months. And also something so obvious. When I comment about this, in some cases to my colleagues, the sales people didn't have breaks. So this means that, for example, they could be selling for many hours without having time to go to the bathroom or say, listen, you are close to burnout because you don't take a break, and this is not good. There is a lot of science that corroborate the fact that you need break at least 5 minutes every 1 hour or 10 minutes every 1 hour and a half. Simple things. So this means caring for 2 human beings, the employee.
Honestly, Bruno, it sounds like a sweatshop and illegal employee practices.
Was legal, but was on the edge.
I'm glad you got in there, Bruno.
Exploitative. Was on the edge of being exploitative because you know what? They were complying. They are paying the minimum wage. They were complying with the lunch break time. But employees were tired before the lunch break time. So they needed, because they were giving so much of them. And so fear infused on employees didn't work well because also they were in freeze, fight, flight mode that we don't meet the quota and so on. So we eliminated we softened the aspect of the quotas temporarily. And also we eliminated the script. We eliminated the limit time for the conversation, and we tell them to engage more naturally with customer and ask more questions in the way that they discover. They don't try to impose products on to customer, but they try to find out what they want and exceedingly possible their need. And they tried for 3 months, and there was significant change in the way that the trend reversed. So instead of keep on going down, they stabilized the first month, and then they went up significantly, not to extent that they were extraordinary in such a short time, but they were noticing changes, and they keep on using when they notice change. When they stabilize, they got more at ease, and when they start going up, they start getting much deeper with this. But this was quite obvious. Then we prepared a report for them, and we said, you know what, you're dismissing the human being. Two human beings. The employee that feel like a kind of exploited by you, even you're complying with all the legislation, safety, security, work legislation, and so on, minimum salary, but you're not allowing them to have autonomy, the need for autonomy. They want to make some decision, this customer need more time, this customer need... You are structuring them too much, and they look like robots, and customer perceive this, and this is a negative cycle. And secondly, you don't allow them to approach each customer in a personalized way. This means that in some cases, customer need more time. In some cases, we need a second conversation. There was only one conversation, second conversation to go deeper and so on. So, and no script at all, more natural, also being much more chill out, not imposing the product, asking questions, asking about their needs. This was a very simple example, but was very significant because also eliminated the pressure on the sales team, eliminating the stress, eliminating the fear of not meeting the quotas. And when people are fearful, their discerning skill cannot work well. We observed when the fear was released and they were more focused, they even have more fun, and in a positive way, they were connecting to customer in a much hearty way, heartful. And so the idea is that customer perceived this shift, and they were much more interested and more engaged with the conversation. And obviously this impacted on sales. Because when you care for the human being, this has a positive impact on the key performance indicator, because the key performance indicators are brought about by human beings. Sales team interacting with the customer, they don't come out of the blue, they don't come from a machine. So the idea is that this is quite significant and was very rewarding, not only economically, but also from the professional perspective, because you see in some cases there are common sense changes, but people... why people were acting in the other way before we intervene? Because they were focusing too much on the quantitative aspect of business. Quotas, we want to focus on sales, instead of focusing on service. When you provide service, good service to customer, you good advice, you interact with them, you want to know their preferences, they're more prone to give you the sales that you need. Instead, when you focus on sales, am I clear? So it's counterintuitive.
Yeah. So what I heard is the employees were happier and their sales numbers went up in those 90 days. Correct?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, we're coming towards the end of the interview, and I want to make sure that we squeeze in my favorite question. What is the most rascal thing that you have ever done in business?
In business, well, I propose something that is not... because it's not very common to propose this. Probably it's not too extraordinary, but I visited the company and I felt that the employees were demotivated. Demotivated not because they were having any fear in the workplace or they were pressurized or they were stressed, but they were doing always the same type of activities. The hierarchy within the company was very formal, so this was very little communication between top management and the rest of the employees. And we proposed something that is science-based, but we thought that this was many years ago. Then we kept on proposing this to other companies. But the first time that I proposed, I was a bit doubtful that this will be taken. I said, you know what? We said to them, we won't charge you for this piece of advice. This will be free, but we have to promise that you will implement this. You have to promise me that you will implement. Okay. So what is the change we need? Do we need new equipment, new computer? No. Something more simple. I want you to, it was a small company, let's say 20 employees. I want you to meet, I talked to the CEO, I want you to meet with employees Fridays evenings. And you go every Friday or every 2 Fridays, if you cannot do this, to a restaurant or a bar, and you have a social event, and you talk to employees, no hierarchies, no roles, no managers against subordinates. You talk about personal issues. So this means that in this meeting, the only rule is talking about your family, friends, hobbies, and so on. Oh, but this is a waste of time. No. Listen, follow this. This is science-based. Follow this piece of advice. We talk in 3 months. Okay, well, I made the promise, okay. And I said, okay. I met this guy 3 months later. I said, oh, you Bruno, you won't believe what happened. I said, listen, tell me. I knew what could happen. I said, no, this is a completely different environment. The people are more motivated. We didn't change anything. We didn't only introduce this. How can this be? What happened? I said, well, this is science-based. There are a lot of studies on this, but employees, besides having these economic needs for a good salary, they have emotional needs and they have social needs. I observe that in your company, the workplace, most of the employees are demotivated. In some cases, there is little communication between the top management and the rest of the people. They're isolated. In some cases, you have very few collective projects where employees can participate in groups. So very little team playing. So, and when you have these social events, everyone connects to each other. The CEO with the janitor cleaning the bathroom, peer-to-peer, one-to-one, on a personalized way, on a personal level, and they can connect emotionally and mentally without hierarchy, without roles. And scientific studies corroborate the fact that when people have these social events, they come back to work revitalized. They know each other better and they're more prone to cooperate, to build better rapport, to trust each other better because they know beyond the role. And I said, well, we will keep on doing this. I understand your explanation. He told me it's sound a bit technical to me, but I understand your explanation, but we will keep on doing this because it's so simple and we have a bit of fun. And this is so important too, because in the business environment, the workplace, you are continually worrying, you will meet the deadlines or not, or you have to finish this project. Instead, you have a bit of fun. And when you have a lot of fun outside work, this also research corroborates the fact that prompt creativity, prompt innovation. Why? Because you create in your brain free association of ideas, you have fun, you have a good experience, good emotion, and this is fostering creativity and innovation. Yeah, we observed that there are new projects and so, and I felt so fulfilled because I said to myself, oh, this works in practice. This was the first time that I tested. And then I started recommending to other companies, and there are many companies here in the UK that are using now. And moreover, there are companies that are organizing events, social events for other companies. So this means that they have the days out with, for example, treasure hunt and so on, a lot of fun events for other companies.
Yes. Oh, I love that. You know, sometimes it's the most simple things that have the biggest impact. And we cannot forget that human connection, human support, human communication, all of this is never going to go away regardless of the amount of tech. And quite frankly, I would argue the desire for authentic connection is actually deeper than ever. So, Bruno, thank you so much for being on Revenue Rascals, and enjoy helping others. Thanks for listening to Revenue Rascals, where we turn bold ideas into predictable revenue and prove that breaking the rules can still build empires. If you love what you heard, do me a favor. Tap the links in the show notes to support our sponsors. They're the ones keeping this show free so I can keep ungating the six-figure strategies that help you scale faster, lead smarter, and take more freedom home with you. And hey, if you think you'd make an incredible guest or know someone who's built something worth studying, email me at hello@michelleterpstra.com. And until next time, stay sharp, stay bold, and stay just a little bit rascal.